Hello, this is Cheryl, and I'm so grateful you're joining me today. Trust that this safe and loving space is exactly where you are meant to be, to ignite your higher self and empower you in this very moment in time. There are no coincidences, so trust the nudges that call to you. As I open, channel, and share today's light filled conversation, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. We are all working to uncover the truths that will serve us on our unique journeys. Each new day brings discovery, and this truth is always empowering, illuminating, and available to us. Now is your moment to deepen your spiritual connection. If it's light, it's right. Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's Light, It's Right. Today's topic is one that I see so often during readings, and one that I am always investigating myself in my personal lighted aspect, and it's past lifetimes. And the episode and the specificness of what I want to cover, because this is huge, a huge, huge, huge topic, is how we build our current path tied to a prior lifetime. And so I call that almost like parallelism, like it's built in response to. And this is what I see so often in readings and I'm going to share one actually with you for our share today, and how it is so purposeful in our journey, how it is so meaningful and purposeful, and its structure is so strong. So when we talk about past lifetimes, I have to remind your heart, remind yourself that we incarnate for our soul's progression. We incarnate knowing that we will meet challenges and that we want to, in order to have an efficient lifetime, we want to rise just a little bit above that. We want to have an efficient lifetime. And so we can and we do place specific aspects or full parallelism of past lifetimes into it. And I have to just remind you again that when we move and set up our incarnation and all the choices that we will be facing, we also include the soul groups, and that has a lot of pull and a lot of weight in our paths. We choose that. We purposely, and in fact, we purposely choose. And I always call this the first initial and biggest first steps is we choose our biological moms and dads. And I say that's our big first step because it has to be. It has to be our first step into this earth's plane. So it's very purposeful. And again, I categorize it in three specific, but certainly there's so many different weights to it. It's comfort, challenge, and or indifference. And again, so many different in betweeners, but we do, that is our first big choice, and we choose that specifically. And sometimes it does line up with our karmic coat, in that being the karmic coat is what we have to put on when we choose to incarnate. So the things we didn't do well in a prior lifetime, past lifetime, has to come back in. And that is what we're going to kind of talk about today. And we're going to talk about why we do it, how it reveals itself, and how I can find out. I can do a past life regression. I can tap into that. And you can. And those are the pieces that we're going to get into today. And so I also want to remind you that it is a purposeful choice that we choose a prior lifetime or an aspect of the lifetime or a soul group of a past lifetime. The choices, the lighted choices, are endless, and I'm really going to categorize them very collective, just for sake of this very short episode and not having you here for a week. So again, purposeful choices of past lifetime aspects. And I'm gonna throw in some examples to kind of make that more clear if it feels a little unclear to you now. That's okay. We're gonna clear that up. And I also want to remind you of, I use this as a human term. I say the word cell memory. And cell memory is just that. It is our spirit remembering. Because remember, everything's housed in our heart. We are right here, right now, a collection of all our past lifetimes, of all our karmic aspects, of all our soul groups, of all the challenges that we chose in this lifetime, of everything. Our heart center has it all. And that is a beautiful resource to tap into. And I'm going to show you how to do that, or move you into that, those pieces for you to see what fits, put on and see what fits. It's a very exciting episode. I'm very excited about this because it's so exciting to learn where you came from, why you are where you are now. Again, when I look at my past lives, and people ask me, oh, do you go and look at all the time? And I say, no. Sometimes I get these pieces that kind of just come into me, and I'm like, that must be something. I'm curious about that. And sometimes I just leave it at that. I don't feel a need to go into deeper. But sometimes I really see, feel, and hear something that is very deep seating that I know needs to be addressed, or I know that it needs to be acknowledged or seen for reasons of my progress or for reasons of my past knowledge. So I extend that excitement, curiosity, if that speaks to you. You might just say, I'm just listening. I'm not really that interested in it. And I say, beautiful, no rules. Just sit and listen. But trust kind of what maybe peeks in when you send that intent out, even if it's just a little curiosity. And so that cell, again, remembers it all. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next little aspect of where I want to kind of go today. So I want to just give you an example, because when we tie a past lifetime to our current one, and it's very purposeful, it's not by chance, we can do it in consecutive lifetimes, or it can be many in between. And that is because sometimes that karmic energy that I experienced, and generally this is karmic energy that is not things I didn't do well. Things I did do well, I'm going to keep bringing that in, right? If I'm a kind and good person in prior lifetimes, I want that back in. And believe me, it comes back in. You don't have to push a button; it just comes. But if it's something that is not of good karmic energy, and maybe you were really devastated in that lifetime, in a prior lifetime, you might not be ready for it to be a consecutive. You might need some healing in between. You might need some very different life paths than that one that delivered that karmic punch to the gut. You might need some ease and some maybe some confidence and some before you come back and you tackle that face to face, because our souls do that. Our souls know that we have to address what we didn't do well. It doesn't have to be consecutive. It doesn't have to be point blank. It could be. It is our soul's choice. And very unoften do we clear deep karmic energy in one lifetime. We need many lifetimes to kind of erase that or soften it, find ease with it. So we make that choice if we want it to be consecutive, or we want many Earth's lifetimes in between to ease back into it. And let me just give you an example to sit with. We have the choice to be either male or female. We all have an origination when we were created by Source to have an origination. My origination was female. But let's say I want to be a male in my next lifetime. For me, that's small scale, because I have been a male. I'm almost 50-50. So to be a male isn't a big ask for me, just in that one aspect. Maybe being a male with a tough mother or a challenging mother, maybe brings in some karma. Maybe that would be difficult for me. But when I'm just looking at face value, switching from female, my origination, to male, I don't feel, and I say that with my light, that it is a big it's not a big karmic ripple for me. I feel like I've been efficient in both, in just that aspect. I'm not going to go any further in any other choices, but just that. But let me just give you an example of it being a large skill for a spirit. Someone that is origination as a male and is choosing for the first time in their incarnations here on this earth's plane to become female. That's huge. That is huge. And the higher tier, and I've seen this in some readings too, because it has been brought up in past lifetimes, is it might be their first lifetime being a female and bearing children, because that is a physical. It doesn't exist on the other side because we're all energy on the other side. It is a physical. It is a physical job. So that is a big ask for someone that has only known a male body, a male physical body. So that could set up for some difficulties on that path. But maybe this male that became female is going to, maybe their path is hardline to be with a person that is unable to have children. So then that will make ease to be this first lifetime being a female, or someone maybe that doesn't want children, doesn't chooses in a lifetime not to have children. So them meeting up and having a relationship for the lifetime, that will be okay. Well, I'm a female. I'm going to work through those aspects of being female, but I will not have to bear a child. So do you see how that there is many different scales and how past lifetimes come into play on that? And again, I had a reading not too long ago, and it was about a female and exactly the scenario. And she was with a person, and he was interested in having children. And she was not particularly interested in having children, but only because, and it was channeled, I believe it was a grandmother that came through, that she was fearful and absolutely frightful of the aspect of delivering a child, and that just frightened her to say, no, I'm good, I don't really think I'm going to have any children, for that one aspect. And understandable, right? Because when you look at the past lifetime and her being a male spirit inside a female physical body and being a novice as a female, you can see how that can alter a plan, alter a life, and needing to manifest answers or truth to understand that. So when that got channeled, she was like 100%, 100%. Oh, that sits with me 100%. And that's again when I say light is right. That doesn't mean she's happy about that, but it gives her truth and understanding. And maybe and I know that that's why the grandmother gave her that message. And what she does with that will be her choices, and her husband's choices. Those will be their choices. And so again, we set up past lifetimes with this lifetime purposefully, and we are a collection of those past lifetimes. And so when we can tap into our heart and that knowledge, it can give us understanding and with lighted hope and guidance that it moves us on our path in a deeper fashion, right? It gives clarity to the things. It clears up things that kind of all kind of ticking in your head, or thinking in those pieces. So when I come back, we're going to talk about why we use a past lifetime for our current and go a little bit deeper into that with some examples. I'll be right back. So we choose past lifetimes, sometimes aspects like a male or a female, male to female, and sometimes deeper, sometimes more emotional pieces. And I'm going to kind of give some examples on that and then talk to you about how you can tap into yours before my share of a person that made great gains in understanding why they were where they are now in their life. So why? Tell me, Why do we do that? Well, we do that because we want to work on smoothing out that residue. And like I said earlier, sometimes we do it consecutively, and sometimes we do many lifetimes in between, sometimes many centuries, sometimes more than centuries. And what we need work on, we know will keep coming through. So, how we left a lifetime is how we pick it up. So, if I make the same parallel existence or aspect, I know that my cell will remember, my spirit will remember, and it will form that line. It will form me back into the things I needed to learn on that aspect, on that piece. Because when I return to that same kind of pioneered trail, I follow that trail. It is how the spirit works. It knows it needs to come in there, and that memory of it will move it forward to where it needs to go. And again, that karmic coat is everything. It is everything that has to do with the past lifetime that we bring into this lifetime that we needed to resolve or lessen or find understand why that happens. There's so many different aspects of why I choose a past lifetime to mirror up with this lifetime in a way. There's all different reasons, but it's always forward lighted motion. It's always, always, always to help us with our soul's ascension. Let me give you a little example. So, if in a prior lifetime you had an abusive father, let's say I was a female and I had an abusive father, certainly challenging, but even a higher degree of challenge, abusive in whatever way that is. And that past lifetime was significant. And I didn't make gains in that lifetime because of that one aspect. So my karmic scar is huge here. I have a huge karmic scar. So when I choose to incarnate, and it is a choice, you can remain on the other side, heaven, whatever you call the other side. You never have to incarnate on this earth plane. But should I choose to, I know that that is a big, I'm going to use that word again, karmic scar. And so I have to decide, am I ready to go again? Should I make this a consecutive? Should I choose a father that holds those characteristics or that potentially could um, become abusive to me again? Maybe it's a different abusive. Again, there's so many variances. So just stay with me in the plainness of the example. So, am I ready to go again, or am I going to choose a loving dad? Am I going to need a lifetime of a loving dad to help me to become strong enough that should I come back in again, that karmic residue, because I will at some point have to face an abusive father or a sampling of it. It's not an identical. It doesn't have to be the identical person that you had in a prior lifetime either. Know that. Sometimes it is though. Sometimes that is my choice to bring in that soul group that is to challenge me, that did challenge me. So as soon as we incarnate together, game on, right? Game on. And we do have that a lot in our current lifetimes. So stay very open to this episode and how it fits in your life and investigate it if you choose to. So, again, I had an abusive father. I was a female. Am I ready to go again? Here are some choices that we can make, and just to see how spirit chooses. It's not by chance. Or maybe I'm going to have a father that is abusive or a variance of that, or I'm going to have an extremely loving mom to support that, help me to get through that again. But I'm going to have a loving mom. Am I ready to go, or do I need a lifetime of ease? Like, am I going to have two indifferent parents that won't move the cursor to deeper karmic? Because we don't want to set ourselves up that way. We don't want to come in saying, I want to fail. We come in saying, how can I make this an ease? How can I find some ease in this and learn my lessons without treading backwards? So again, those are always, always, always our starting thoughts on the other side before coming. But life happens, and we know that. So we want to mitigate that as much as we can before coming in. But sometimes that's not always the way it turns out because of others' free will and their choices. So we come in knowing that. So back to my example. So I want to help with that karmic residue, and those are some of my choices. So let's say, okay, I think I'm ready to have that abusive father, but I'm going to set it up this way. I was a female with an abusive father. I'm going to be a male this time. And see if I can handle that better as a male, because maybe as a female and that female energy, um I made that, it was deeper than it needed to be, and I feel like if I was a male, because in lifetimes when I am a male, I'm a stronger male. Again, these are all, parts of your decisions, and I can work on that as a male and maybe ease some karmic, energy there. Or maybe I'm gonna have, maybe a loving mom, and I'm gonna have a sibling alliance. So I'm gonna have a brother or sister that's gonna be with me, so deeply that they're going to help me to get through this. Again, those are all how a past lifetime, and that is our karmic. Our past lifetimes are all karmic, and how we choose what we choose in this lifetime. Those of you that are hearing me, we chose many of the things we're in this lifetime based on a prior past lifetime. So when I do readings, that's what comes through in past lifetimes, and how it shows parallelism, understanding, and embracing truth. Never with fear, never with judgment, never with darkness, but it gets delivered for light, love, and comfort to help you in this journey. So, how can it reveal itself to give you that kind of, that's interesting? S Just I call them triggers, but they're brought on by your cell memory. They're your higher self giving you a little knock, for whatever reason. Sometimes we need to address that so we can move forward. Sometimes we ask for that. Even though our conscious self doesn't recognize that we're asking, we are asking. We're asking for the light to help us. And this is a way that we ask for it. And again, when you get moved to speak to someone, that communicates with the light, sometimes that is what you've asked for, and that's what gets delivered. So be open in your light and know that, things that come through are always to help you and be comforting in this lifetime. And so some triggers that can be brought on are events. I had a reading not too long ago that this person, it was a man that said, "Ah, I know I was in World War II. I know I was in World War II. I can't get my eyes, I can't get my vision, I can't get enough of World War II. I know I was there." And so that's what I call a trigger. And so, when I asked permission, I said, "Would you like to go deeper to see why you feel that way?" Absolutely. Um, he was not in World War II. And again, I always say past lives, we generally in Earthstone, although there's no time on the other side, it's generally about 100-year difference before we can really kind of engage and come back in, because we have to learn our lessons on the other side. We have to decide, make decisions, maybe have soul groups ready. There's lots of lighted moving parts on the other side that we kind of have to have in play before we want to come back down to this earth's plane. This is a very difficult journey for a spirit. So it's not one that, we jump right into. We make many, many plans. So that World War II wouldn't fit with his date. And and so the universe, gave his time. And that World War II was a trigger. So, and part of that piece too was more aspects that he spoke to. It talked about, him being of an Asian nature, and but there was a war, and I forget the time. It was centuries ago, many centuries in between, and and it just like opened him up to so many different aspects. His grandfather, brought memories, and it was just he opened himself up to that understanding that World War II, and maybe it was who was involved in that World War II. But there was a trigger. I use that word just to say, oh, it just ignites me, and I'm so drawn to it. And I will say, if you are drawn to something so significantly, 99.9% of the time, it is something that calls to you. Not always for acknowledgement, but for understanding, maybe for soul's path, maybe for things to come in the future for you on this earth's plane. So lean into that. Lean into that. Another trigger is an age. I'm going to use an example, and these are just examples. Um, Losing a child, and maybe going through just maybe a depression or a fear that just almost snaps into a place or an age. All of a sudden, it never was there, but now it's here. That's sometimes a trigger for something that happened in a prior lifetime at that age. So open up to that. I just did an episode, and I talked about when I was like 7 or 8, and I've always been a medium. I've always saw spirits, but I didn't always know what that meant. I never expressed that to anyone. And I always had this fear that I would be, that my life would end at age 30. And here I am at age 8. At age 30, in my life would be taken by someone stabbing me, or that type of piece. And I said, I was sure of it. 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 And I was so frightened of it. And when I went into my own past life regression, I saw that, and I saw the vision. I saw the vision. I saw myself, and it was, many, 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 many centuries ago. It was actually my first time being a medium, and I was a male, and and it was around the time that Christ was here, but not at that time. I know that by what I could see as part of the wardrobe, and and I was in shepherd's almost clothing, and I was brought into a cave, and it was by a person in my community, and I was doing my medium work in terms of helping people and seeing into the future, which at that time was seen as a power. And this person, and this was all given to me at this site. At this vision. I didn't have anything before that, and it was decades after my 6-year-old self, and he took my life. He took my life by stabbing me, and feeling at that time that if he took my life, that power would be brought into him. That was his belief system back then. So whatever I had as that gift would be transferred to him, which didn't happen. But that is why he took my life at that age of 30. And so my soul remembered that because I chose to be a medium again in this lifetime. That was a soul's choice for me in this path. And the reason why I'm talking to you today, to move those messages forward. So that is how our past lifetimes line up. And so me as a 6 and 7-year-old feeling I was going to die at age 30, and I would feel that knife go in. I would feel that knife go in, and I was petrified. I would lay awake at night just penning the sign of the cross all night because I was fearful that that would happen to me. And it didn't. But that is what the trigger is, being a medium again and remembering. And I had three other lifetimes of being a medium in differing fashions, and also stay open to that. It's not always a one-to-one look. It is sometimes a loose connection. For instance, that man that knew he was in World War II, he was not in World War II, but there was a significance to that triggered it. So it's not always a direct line. It's sometimes a loose line, but it's still that trigger. Location sometimes can be a trigger, like water. Again, maybe you lost your life in water. We've all lost our lives in many different ways. And so water is fearful for you. Maybe bridges are fear for you because you're afraid of the water. So that might be a past life regression that you say, okay, um, that is why I'm fearful, but it's not of this lifetime. That is not how this lifetime will end for me. And that's sometimes a beautiful validation that, okay, I understand why that fear is there, and I'm going to open to my truths, and I'm going to seek out that truth. In that water will not, but I understand why it is so fearful of me. And it might not be something that disappears. It might be something that disappears once you acknowledge it. But maybe you learn to maintenance it a little bit more. Sometimes a deja vu, that feeling of a deja vu, which is for me, I believe it is, and I firmly believe, and it is a lighted experience for something bigger. Maybe you've been here before. Maybe, and again, maybe it's not the location. Maybe it's the feel of the location. Maybe it is there's so many different variables. Like it's not always a one-to-one. So just be open to it. Like, but when a deja vu feeling kind of hits, there's something to look deeper into. Sometimes a trauma or illnesses can be a trigger. Maybe you've chosen a past lifetime to repeat an illness again. Or maybe it's not the same illness. Maybe you passed of a stroke in a prior lifetime, but in this lifetime you're experiencing a cancer or a car accident, or maybe that a car accident is how you passed in a prior lifetime. So sometimes when you're in that space, maybe it was a rainy night. So on rainy nights, you have a little bit more caution when you're driving. Maybe that's a past lifetime that kind of is infiltrating. So again, past lifetimes, they come into us in all different ways, but they're purposeful, and they are here always for us to tap into if we choose. So how do we tap into it? How do we kind of do ourselves a past life regression of sort? How can I do it? Certainly, you have your truths. You have your truths. You are always open for them. So having those truths and not fearing them is a way to encounter. But if you have fear with them, that's okay. That's okay. That there's no have tos, right? There's no have tos. And you can maybe ask for it to come a different way. Maybe it won't be so direct like my vision, and using my psychic senses and how that was delivered. But I was ready for that. I was open for that. And for me, that gave me such clarity, because that young experience I had was so palpable. It was so, it doesn't haunt me any longer. But it gives myself perfect understanding of why it happened. So again, sometimes having those truths be known or be uncovered is healing. It's a dark blanket that has some light to it. So move with what feels light and right to you. But if a past life regression or an aspect that you would like to kind of uncover, maybe you had a deja vu, or maybe you feel a certain trigger some way, and you wanted to say, I am curious. Is that something more? Sometimes you just ask black and white. Does that signify something that I experienced, or that I need to experience in this lifetime or a past lifetime? Ask. Anything that you ask in light and love is always given to you. Always given to you. You must trust and be mindful to that trust. So if you want to receive knowledge, you just ask. Just ask. That is simple, but I understand it can be difficult as well. So I'm all about simple. I feel like spirit is simple, but I understand that there's so many human layers to that. I'm going to stay simple, though. If you want knowledge, ask it. All your knowledge is in your heart. It's in your heart center. It's just waiting for you. All you have to do is clear that chatter, ask, or be open to receive, and resonate with what comes, right? And it just arrives. There's no thinking involved. If you're thinking, then you could be mixing some ego with it. And don't don't progress what comes to something that makes logic to you, right? Don't I always say, don't narrate it. Don't find an ending to it. That's not how spirit works. That's not how spirit works. And when you can open to your psychic senses, your psychic abilities, which we all have them, you can gain that knowledge by really understanding what is your strongest ability in when your connections. Clairvoyantly, do you see it like I saw? It was like a video. I saw all of it. But sometimes I just see pictures, or sometimes I just see symbols. So it's not. It is a universe making, giving you what you need, and however that they can do that. I say that they open up your third eye and your crown chakra, and they say, okay, how can I deliver this to Cheryl, which will give her what she needs. Sometimes it's for me personally, and sometimes it's for me to communicate to the loved one, or to that person sitting. So again, spirit is so intellectual, but they will do it, and they will serve it, and they will give it to you in any way that you ask for it. So I always say, lean into what you feel is your highest psychic ability, but don't get tunnel vision with that, because sometimes that makes you too tight. And when you're too tight, you're too thinking, and that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. But so clairvoyancy is seeing, clairaudience is hearing thoughts, hearing words, hearing phrases, songs. It could be anything that they communicate with you. Clairsentience is a feeling. Sometimes it's energy in the body. Sometimes it's the tingles. Sometimes it's just a sense of how your body tells you. Sometimes maybe when your right shoulder, you feel energy in your right shoulder, it's a yes, or when you feel it going down your legs, it's a no. Tap into yourself. Ask it yeses and nos, and start that communication and that conversation with your higher self. Clear cognizant is just knowing. I just know the truth. That is. And very often they come in together. It's sometimes they're not so beautifully isolated. Like I will see something, but I will also know it. Or I will feel it. Sometimes I see, hear, and feel at the same time. So it's you have to just stay open and trust what comes, and try not to think it through. No logic comes with spirit, no logic. Clear alliance and clear gustance are also some great clairs. They're not my strongest, but I know a lot of clients that this is a very strong ability. And clear smelling and clear tasting. That means something on the natural, not of the natural world, and it shows up, right? And there's no one in this house with me, but I smell a male cologne. That is clear alliance. I'm smelling something that I cannot explain logically. That's spirit, in whatever way and fashion that they are trying to communicate with you. So if you want to connect with a past life, or past, I want to ask about a past life, or see if this connects with you in this life, you just have to ask it. There really is no magic. Your heart has all the answers. You just have to tap into it. And I'm going to share in just a moment um, a beautiful past life connection that spoke to a woman that I had a reading with just recently. Stay tuned. So she was beautiful. A beautiful African American woman came to me in a session. And the moment we connected, it was a virtual call. So I was immediately drawn to her name. It was such a beautiful name. And that's my clairvoyance, because my vision, or it was given to me to see, right? But then I felt something, my clairsentience. And what I felt at the time I saw her name was strength, and it was ancestral, something. So I knew it was from a past life. And it was going to be, I felt it was going to be deeply significant in the reading. So again, that was clear cognizance. Like, I know something, it's going to it's going to be a part of the reading in some way. So again, all those senses came to me, and I didn't have anything at the time. Right. So again, trust where your path goes. Trust where your path goes. So when we started our session, I asked, what would you like from Spirit today? And she says, my life's just chaos. I just need to know, am I on my path? And if I'm not, how do I get back onto it? My relationships are strained, misunderstanding. My children are facing significant challenges. And she just said, and I'm just tired. The emotional weight leaves me so drained, and I'm just questioning, how did I get here? How did my life get to this point? What did I do wrong? How did I get there? And again, those are some beautiful opportunities to find your light, right? To find and to conquer your light, and to seek out deeper meaning. And I just did a episode on manifesting light. So look back at that and see, this is exactly, it's a past lifetime in manifestation. It's a beautiful coexistence that happened in this reading. So the channel began. So that was her, just opening her heart and just releasing what was the heaviness that was on the surface. And so the channel began, and Spirit brought forth a prior lifetime, just as I had felt, but now I now knew that was going to be a big, I call it parallelism, like they were presenting this past lifetime to give the bones and understanding of this lifetime, and to give her light, love, and comfort that she was on her path. And so what was given to me to give her was that the events and the people and everything that happens in her life now was of her choosing. And it was based on a prior lifetime. And so this prior lifetime was coming into me. And it was not a consecutive one. I believe it was 300 or 400 years difference. And she was a male. And she was living a very privileged life of sorts. She, being he, was born in a family, is a tribal royalty, is how it felt. In that prior lifetime, he was very powerful, and the choices that he made accumulated that karma for this lifetime. I'm not feeling it was good karma or bad karma, but it was karma that she chose to bring into this lifetime for experience, for lessons and experience, to feel what it would be like the other way around. And so she purposefully chose this path she's on to balance that from that specific lifetime of having maybe it felt very much like a lot of ease, like not a lot of strife, not a lot of struggles because of what he was born into, and the community maybe supporting that royalty of sort. And again, that's just a loose interpretation of, I didn't get directness, just a loose interpretation. But that she chose with that lifetime to experience a difference, a different. And so channeling through a little bit more specifics that I won't go into here, but just her understanding that she did not misstep. There is nothing that she did wrong, that she chose the parent she chose, which again had some purpose. There was a parent of challenge that she came into, and that was purposeful. And her experience with that parent in her lifetime was purposeful. Not happy. Purposeful, it doesn't mean it's happy. That's our earth term, right? But it had meaning, and it had shape to how it would move her in this path for the things that she wanted to learn and experience in this lifetime. And that her children chose her, and they chose her purposefully. And the channel went a little deeper into that as well. And so this knowledge and understanding that she didn't misstep, she didn't do anything wrong, she didn't miss an avenue that she was supposed to hit. She is exactly where she expected to be. And that gave her a new sense of lighted realm. It gave her validation. It opened her heart for truths and forward motion, and maybe and hopefully as she continues this journey, she can draw from that and tap into that more and ask more and find just a slight bit of ease, knowing that things don't just happen to us, that we choose them. And when others' free will wreaks havoc on ours, we still do choose that. We chose to come here knowing that that's a possibility. And we have to fight our light, fight with our light to get our nose above that water level, right? To get some breath. That is our journey. And it is that simple to just find ease and peace in our journey. That is an efficient lifetime, an efficient lifetime. And that is so, it's such a beautiful way of looking at our life. It doesn't mean it's happy. It just gives clarity. And sometimes it just gives us an understanding and opens our heart to say, this is where I'm supposed to be for whatever reason. And I am going to do my best to find light, even if it's the smallest of slivers. Past lives play a significant role in the karmic energy we carry in this lifetime. Before returning to the physical world, we choose certain experiences and lessons from those lifetimes, knowing we'll have the opportunity to face them again. This time with the chance to bring light, healing, and growth to our soul. When a past life aligns with your current path, it is no coincidence. It's a sacred encounter with what we're still seeking healing and finding release for. And while the ego may label it as hardship or punishment, in truth, it is what we choose to come and learn. And although it may feel heavy, your spirit remembers. And that remembrance is your compass, guiding you not as punishment, but as purpose. This is your path, not a misstep. The weight you feel simply affirms the wisdom your heart already knows. You don't need a medium to uncover your answers. They live within you, always ready to rise when you ask from the heart. So trust and connect with your light. Ask it anything rooted in love, and it will answer. Our light is patiently waiting to guide you toward truth, healing, and peace as you walk the path of the lessons you chose. If it feels light, it is right. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on your journey today. There's so much for us to explore and learn together. If there's a light-filled topic you're curious about, or if you just want to reach out, I'd love to connect. Follow me on social media at Cheryl Bradley Medium, or visit cherylbradley.com to explore my offerings and events. I hope today's episode has filled you with the light to carry with you until we meet again. And let the title of this podcast stay with you today and every day. If it's light, it's right. Blessings on your journey.